Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Shewey. I am the CEO and founder of Happily. We're a global events company that specializes in unique, fun, and carbon zero events. And every week I bring one of my friends and colleagues into LinkedIn Live and to YouTube to share a little bit about exciting things that are happening in our world today. And today I'm really excited to introduce you all to Som Ray. He is an award-winning mobility designer and technologist from MIT. Love me a smart one. He was part of the Smart Cities group at MIT Media Lab, and he was working on the future of urban mobility. And Som and I recently met at a climate designers summit, which was really cool. And I thought that he's an inventor, and he invented something called the clip bike. And it was so mind blowing that I was like, you have to come and meet all of my community. And before I bring in Sam, I'd love to show a clip of the clip bike so you can also become a fan like I am. Yeah, without any further ado, let's bring in Sam. Hey, Sam. Wasn't
Hey,
that amazing?
hey, Sarah. Good to see you again.
Yes, totally. Thanks for joining me in conversation again. And yeah, I'm always glowing and telling as many people as I can about Clip Bike, and just really excited that you're here. How have things been for you?
Things have been well. Thank you, first of all, for this opportunity to kind of interact with you and engage with you in this conversation. Uh, so things have been well. You know, we launched our first sort of pre-orders towards the end of last year. I mean, through this complex sort of pandemic-enabled situation, but things are getting better. We are moving towards manufacturing right now, and we are looking forward to shipping our first units in the coming months. So
That's
yeah.
amazing. I love that you're really tackling one of the biggest reasons why the biggest climate emitters are just ground transportation and being able, just the joy of riding a bike and making that such a wonderful experience for everyone through your design. But the joy of riding a bike at further distances is really awesome. I'd love to know, maybe what's your favorite memory of being on a bike?
So I think it would be the first time that I learned how to ride a bike, because it's just that switch when your brain makes. And I think there are two sort of memories. One is when I first learned how to ride a bike, and the second is when my son, who's 4.5, and he started sort of, now he's 5, but when he sort of first learned how to ride the bike. And I could see the same kind of click happening in one's brain when suddenly they get it. And and when I got it for the first time and I was riding on these two wheels. So yeah, I think those two kind of coincide into uh,
Totally. It's so funny. It's just it's true that just having getting on your own wheels and the fresh air, it just makes, I don't know, it's not it's to me it's even more exhilarating than flying, because in flying you're just still in this cage, right? In this air pressure cabin.
right.
Versus riding a bike is just, I don't know, it's one of life's greatest joys.
Yeah.
I'd love to actually show a bit of, I think you sent us a clip of how it actually feels on a clip bike. So maybe we can roll that. Amazing. It's so cool. It really is so cool. And also, Time Magazine thinks it's you got like the 2020 best inventions or one of the best inventions of 2020, right? So, congratulations to you and your team on that. That's amazing and
Thank
really
you.
well deserved. I mean, what actually led you to create this, or how did this all come about?
So the arc is fairly long on this one, you know. So I've been sort of involved in the space of urban mobility since I started working with this group at Media Lab called the Smart Cities Group, and the goal or the mission of that group at that point was, you know, how do we reduce urban congestion? How do we solve for greenhouse gas emissions? You know, out of the total sort of greenhouse gas emissions in the world, about 20 to 25% are, you know, sort of accounted for by just ground urban transportation. So, you know, the mission of this sort of this lab was, you know, well, how do we reduce sort of, you know, greenhouse gas emissions through, you know, through the use of electric cars, but not only that, but how do you make, you know, urban life better in cities, because just cars just take up so much space. You know, you've mainly got these large, you know, single occupancy vehicles which are basically just taking up space in your city. So we had some exciting projects in that time. You know, we were looking at, you know, reducing the footprint of a car. We did some folding car designs, stackable cars. If you look up the history of that lab, it's quite fascinating. It was run by,
Wait,
you know,
stackable cars?
yeah, so it was like, you know, you've seen stackable chairs, right? So so yeah, so you basically could stack a bunch of cars, and you could, you know, reduce the overall footprint for parking, you know, say 20 or 30 cars. And was run by, you know, Bill Mitchell, who was this fantastic sort of mind, who was one of the sort of founders of the Media Lab as well. But the funny thing was, during this entire time, we were all just looking at cars. Uh, you know, partly because it was funded by GM, and, you know, so all of our sort of the paradigm to change, you know, or bring about any change was the automobile, and very little sort of thinking was, you know, sort of invested, or we invested in, on a bicycle, for example, which, you know, when we think of a bicycle, we are always kind of thinking of it as this uh, sort of benign, sort of entertaining kind of, you know, this object that we use for, you know, riding on nice weekends and things like that. But a bicycle is a powerful kind of, you know, platform for just daily urban mobility, because like most urban sort of commutes are within the 3 to 4 mile range, and you don't need a car for that. I mean, a bicycle is the healthier, you know, the most, you know, efficient sort of ways in which you can cover that distance daily. So to, you know, come to that conclusion, and then I started using that bicycle myself when I moved to Brooklyn and I started working here. And I very quickly kind of came to this one pain point, which is kind of like the origin of why Clip came about. Because I was commuting every day, and I would realize that there was this one stretch where it would just be a pain, you know, just going up that hill. And I would see everybody around me kind of just looking miserable on that ride up. And it kind of came about that, well, what if I could just have this little device? It didn't have to be super powerful. I didn't need, you know, to go on a scooter or a motorcycle. I just need like enough power to reduce this effort that I'm feeling at this moment covering this hill. So that little device, you know, what that could be, kind of was the beginning of the thinking around Clip. And then, you know, I kind of sort of broached this idea to a dear friend, Clem, who's now my co-founder. And we started sort of thinking about, you know, what this device could be. And we kind of I built the first sort of alpha prototype here at the new lab where we work, and we did a proof of concept, and then yeah, so and then the product dev kind of followed,
And
and now
it's
we
all
have.
history. But like that is amazing, and it's really brilliant that that you looked at the last mile, you know, in a really smart and sustainable way. I think just this last week I saw this like, ooh, it gives me the chills just thinking about the this image of all of the I think it's like the Mobikes in China. They're just like getting like stacked up, right? Where they just created new bikes, but
Right.
really such an elegant solution to basically like upcycle almost in a way like your existing bike. It's beautiful.
Right. I mean, there are, like in the US alone, there are about 173 million bikes just lying around. And if we could get even, 20% of these people to start using them regularly to commute, like we could make a massive dent and a great impact for climate change in that sense. So, and another thing, for the whole idea around Clip was, well, you've got e-bikes, they're expensive, they're heavy, and the one thing that we don't talk about more often is that they lock you into like a permanent e-bike lifestyle. So the health aspect of riding a bike, on certain periods in a week, uh, it doesn't enable that. But so, which is another thing which I really wanted to sort of do with this device, that you only attach it when you need it. And at other times, you just got your regular bike that you can ride, in a nice, healthy, old fashioned kind of a manner. So yeah,
Yeah, no, I totally hear you on that. Like, because yeah, as soon as I like sit on an e-bike, then yeah, you're just like not pedaling as much, and you miss a bit of that joy. Like, I find the joy in the effort, right?
right,
To like, there's like this like instant gratification of like when I pedal, like the wind hits me. But we have all been there in that moment, like in that like stretch where you're like going up and you're like and like if you're commuting to work, like this actually like this one tiny seemingly tiny problem of that one hill that like makes me break a sweat like is enough to deter me from like commuting on a bike to work,
right,
right?
right.
So hopefully yeah, hopefully people will embrace this and then like use bikes as like a new mode of transportation. Okay, well, you I also wanted to share a little bit and like learn a little bit more about like what's next because you just had this really big announcement of raising a fundraising round. Congratulations,
Thank you.
on that. Would love to hear like so people give you a bunch of money, awesome. Like, what are you gonna do with all of that? How are you going to like? How are you gonna get this to Taiwan? Is this like my number one question? And that's like like totally selfish question. Because I want this literally everywhere, and especially here where I'm at.
Yeah, and us too. I mean, so we were very lucky to get some great investors on board, uh, who believe in the vision of seeing more people on bicycles and changing the culture. Uh, So right now, as I mentioned, our goal is to get the first units out. We've sold about 570 sort of units so far as pre-orders, which we are on track to start sort of delivering by the summer of this year. So right now, all hands on deck to get the manufacturing going really sort of efficiently, knowing that we are in a very sort of challenging time, considering all the supply chain sort of problems that everybody's facing. The good news on our end is that we are not tied to the e-bike supply chain. We are on a totally different path of supply. Uh, so that helps us a bit, but that's the one piece that we are really sort of solving right now as our focus. The other is identifying and focusing on the launch market. So we will be launching uh, in New York, and we are also looking at California. We have sold across the country right now, but we've limited it to the US for now. Once we ship the first set of units, then we will kind of ramp up fairly quickly. And by next year, we are looking at Europe and then some parts of Southeast Asia the year after, perhaps. That's kind of like the general high-level roadmap right now.
That totally makes sense that you go to Europe. I mean, I think about like I used to live in Spain and spend quite a bit of time in France too. And actually, like one of my favorite memories of a bike is not is the first thing when I think about a bike is just like being in France for the first time and seeing a
Right.
man like in like in his like cute like striped shirt, holding a baguette, like riding his like bike with one hand, and I was like, wow, I am in France, so totally makes sense that you're going to Europe next. That's amazing. Yeah, I think that there's so much like opportunity, and it is really interesting to sort of I was telling you, I'm introducing you to Coco, my husband, so that you guys can, maybe help. He can help you
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
manufacturing of that. Because I know that there's like at every sort of like different quantity, there's different breaks, and
yeah,
I've also like I don't know, this just is a random thought too, like. Since you're really like so much like of the design, like, are you going to just like work with local like manufacturing plants and then just have them like have local plants actually be delivering? That might help with your distribution, or is it tough to
yeah.
find
No,
people in
I think
the area?
so. One of our sort of part of our mission is, or rather the core of it is to kind of create accessibility for such devices so more people from all socioeconomic backgrounds can have better accessibility through an affordable device like this. So affordability is a key sort of factor, which is one reason why we really want to sort of start working on a path where this can be really affordable to everybody. And right now, at 399, it's the cheapest way to kind of uh, get any nice bike working as an e-bike. So to that point, we really tried hard to sort of look at our manufacturing sort of units locally in the US, which has been very challenging to kind of you know uh, sort of identify because of such a uh, sort of critical price point. So right now we are looking at India for our first batch of manufacturing, and then we kind of hope to sort of have a parallel sort of manufacturing path for other parts of the world as well.
Awesome, I love it. And like you sent over another clip. Would you mind just teeing us up and letting us know what's in that clip?
Sure. So, this clip is from one of our earlier prototypes, which uh, demonstrates how easy it is to attach this device. So I want to kind of just give a quick description of what this device is essentially. So it's uh, so an e-bike, you can basically have an e-bike in the following sort of three ways, right? You've got a hub motor, which is a motor on the wheel of the bicycle. You've got the mid-drive motor, which is on the crank of the bicycle, and then you have a friction drive system, which basically essentially it drives the front wheel by sitting on top of it. Now, the most famous sort of friction drive devices are these French device slash bicycles called the Velosolix, which originated, I think, in the 1960s or 1950s. Hugely popular. They sold about 8 million units worldwide. But they used to be these, small internal combustion engines driving a front roller on the front wheel. So our sort of version or clip essentially is an electric, a lightweight, a much more lightweight version of a similar sort of friction device which sits on the front wheel. Now the challenge was, how do you kind of fit a friction drive device and establish a good sort of rolling friction on the front wheel across a wide section of bicycle designs. So this clip essentially demonstrates how easy it is to attach clip to a bicycle, to the front fork, without the use of any tools. So most sort of friction drive devices or any other sort of bike upgrade that you would look at, you would need to do some DIY. You would get your Allen wrench out, put things in place, and then you attach the device. And then once you do that, it becomes a permanently an e-bike. But in this case, it's like this plug and play thing where you pull down on this clamp, it attaches, gives you a rigid sort of connection for you to, ride around, and then you can detach it just as easily. So that's the, the video.
Amazing, Shauna. Do you have that clip for us? Um, I've been like in like pun land where I'm like, it reduces friction. No, sorry, like, roll that clip of clip bike. Yeah, so Sean, if you can go ahead and roll that clip. Thank you.
In one move, non-electric. No pre-install anything on the fork. It's a clean fork. We'll bring clip and install it. We'll unclamp it. Bring it to the fork. Make the alignment. Pull the clamp and done. We'll pull the remote out and attach it to the handlebar. We press the remote to see that it's connected. The light comes on, and you want to ride it? Yeah. Okay, this is a regular old Rally, no pre-installs. This is clip. Great, let's install it. So we basically align it. Done. And we take the magnetic remote out. We attach it to this, and you can ride it. Do you want to ride it quickly?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to set it on a city bike. Clean frame. The new bikes. Jeff. And unclamp it. Line it to the fork. And the clamp. And you're done. You're ready to ride. We'll do a quick plug and play swappability demo. So Jeff, you want to take it off the city bike and put it on this other bike, which we haven't tried it on yet.
Super cool. You're getting like all of the strong emotions on like LinkedIn Live where it's like, it's not just like a thumbs up, it's like claps, like thought starter from Ernie. Hey, Ernie, Nicole, Stephen, Rob, great to see you guys. Love you're getting a love. That is how I feel too. It's just like, it's not that I'm like, oh, that's nice. I'm like, I love this clip like thing. And and I'm sure everyone, and we already know everyone else does too. So how can we stay in touch? How can we get involved? Where can we learn more about Flipback?
Yeah, we are clip.bike. That's the website as well. Uh, we are, at the moment looking to sort of expand our team. So we'd love to, engage. Feel free to email me at som@clip.bike. And yeah, there's lots of interesting opportunities coming up in the marketing space as we kind of go and start, uh, you know, uh, showing this to people. So yeah, would love to engage.
Totally. You guys have to, you totally have to get like in touch with all of the, like there's just so many awesome like cyclists and like the like night riders and the cyclovia folks. They have to know about you. I'm like gonna make some intros after this for sure. And yeah, everyone make sure to follow Som on LinkedIn, go to clip.bike, tell everybody so that we can all get Clip Bike into our hands ASAP. Thanks so much for being here, Som.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the great chat.